Hi there, everybody. It's Dan Cerrucci again. And this is part two of my two-part commentary on the election. And where we left off was I said that mail-in ballots, sending out tens of millions of mail-in ballots without a process or a plan for how to handle them in advance, we were not equipped to handle something that was planned so quickly and involved such an overwhelming change in our election system and was so fraught with possibility for error, for misuse, for, well, for ballot harvesting, for absolute fraud. And I sort of tried to explain that to you in part one, why we're in this situation now. Now, look, this is an election for the President of the United States. It's very serious. This is not a game. This is not a game on a playing field where we say, well, you know, the officials made some bad calls here. There were some mistakes made by each team. The outcome could have gone a different way, but for this or this or that. And one team seemed to really deserve to win, but the other team actually won. So, let's forget about it and let's, the team that was granted the win, let them have the win, and the losing team, be a good sport. Now, come on, be a good sport about this and be on your way. And, and very often in situations like that, in sports, the losing team has to swallow hard, suck it up, even if they feel they won, and be a good sport and take it, okay? Because there's another game next week. Or maybe, even like in baseball, there's another game tomorrow. Or in basketball, there's another game tomorrow. But this is not a game. This is something in our Constitution. It involves our sacred rights. And we've got to make sure we get this right. Now, there's an argument being made, and you may have heard it, that says, well, the last time we had a disputed election that is this close, appeared to be this close, or that was close, just like this one appears to be, okay, was in 2000. And the election was contested. And Al Gore, the Democratic candidate, was a good sport about it, and he gave a very gracious speech, and he conceded the election. And George W. Bush became president, even though, as I recall, he didn't win the popular vote. He barely squeaked through with the electoral vote because of the state of Florida. And even though a lot of people felt that Bush didn't really win, that Gore was a good sport about it. Well, guess what? Guess what? Those people that are telling you that are rewriting history. That's not the way it happened, okay? It wasn't that simple. I was there. I know. That election wasn't decided until December 12th. That election was contested until December 12th. And Al Gore and the Democrats fought ferociously. They argued ferociously that the election was being stolen from them. They went to court after court after court. They filed all kinds of suits and complaints. They had an army of lawyers. It went on for more than a month. And it wasn't until December 12th that the United States Supreme Court issued a ruling and said, You have to stop recounting and recounting and recounting the votes. And you have to stop where you are now. And the fact of the matter is that George W. Bush had more votes and won the state of Florida and therefore won the election. And it was the next day that Al Gore conceded, and he did make a very gracious speech because he had no other options. He was out of options. All his legal options had been exhausted. This went on for more than a month. And yes, he did make a very gracious speech. Do you know why? Because people advised him. They said, Al, look, you're still a relatively young man. You may want to run for president again. You should not be sour or bitter. You don't have any options left. After the United States Supreme Court rules, there is no higher authority. So when you make this speech, be gracious, and that will set you up, and you'll be in a good place if you want to run again next time. That's why he made a gracious speech. It wasn't out of any love certainly not out of any love for George W. Bush. We can understand that. But I'm not sure it was out of any great sense of, I don't know, dare I say patriotism or whatever. It was a pragmatic decision that he made to make a very gracious speech. And it was beautifully written, beautifully delivered, and very gracious. But it didn't happen a few days after the election. It happened more like 5 or 6 weeks after the election. And that's the way it happened. So please put aside the bogus argument about Al Gore. This is absolute nonsense. When we look at when we total up the razor thin margins in a number of states here, we're talking about a difference of very, very few votes that could tip the balance one way or another. We've got to make sure of the vote count and the credibility and the accuracy and the legality of the vote. So when you hear this, count all the votes, no. Count all the legal votes. Count all the legitimate votes. Okay? That's what we're talking about here. And that's what we want to make sure of. And that's why leaders of the Pennsylvania state legislative leaders, Republican leaders, because Republicans control the state legislature in Pennsylvania, came forward today and they said, we want a complete audit of what went on here in Pennsylvania with the counting of the votes. These need to be audited. You have to remember that President Trump was ahead by more than 700,000 votes. How did that lead evaporate? And in some places, after President Trump had gained this advantage, they stopped counting votes for a while, as I understand it, like in Philadelphia, for a few hours and maybe longer. And then suddenly they started again. And when they started again, they suddenly found more votes for Biden. In fact, there's been reports that somewhere as many as 200,000 votes were found on ballots that were just marked votes for Biden. They were not, the other offices lower down on the ballot were not marked. It was just marked Biden, no other marks on the ballot. It's a little bit strange, isn't it? There were some districts where Biden had 100% of the vote. And there were no votes at all for President Bush. Now, even if these were in minority districts where Biden would be expected to get a lopsided majority of the vote, this year, President Trump, did I say President Bush? President Trump greatly increased his share of minority votes. So it's highly unlikely that there were no votes at all in those districts for President Trump, and that every single vote was cast for Biden. There's been reports that in some places there were more votes cast than there were registered voters. You know, we've had these kinds of reports before. Now, how did that happen? The Trump people have to gather all of these instances and other instances we may not know about, and they have to bring them together, and they have to put together solid evidence, and I'm sure they're probably doing this now, that they can bring forward in a court of law, and lawsuits, legal action is being filed in all of these states. Legal action is being filed. There's probably going to have to be a mandatory recount in Wisconsin, probably going to have to be a mandatory recount in Georgia. There may have to be a mandatory recount in Arizona because the margin is so close, and so forth. And so these things have got to be worked out. So it's going to require patience. This psychological game that's going on of saying, oh, let's just declare Biden the winner, or, get one of these networks or a couple of these networks to call it for Biden. And then Biden comes forward and makes his acceptance speech. This is a psychological game that's being played to put into the minds of the public that it's a done deal, that it's a fait accompli that can't be stopped. The courts and the law will decide. We have a process in this country. It's called the law and the Constitution. The courts and the law will decide when this comes to an end, to say either, all right, look, there's no argument here, there's no case, so long, or there's a case here, let's look at it and proceed forward. Okay, that's going to have to be determined. Now, I know there's been a lot of pressure on Fox News, for example, since they will not take back this call of Arizona, which is what started the whole thing. It was the call that Arizona went for Biden. The early presumptuous call, which came out from this guy, Michigan, I keep wanting to call him Munchkin because he's about as consequential. He thinks he's very important, but he's really about as consequential as a Munchkin. He's a little nerd that works there inside Fox News, a little nerd that wants to be somebody. He's a little a technocrat, a little bean counter, okay, that I think always wanted to be somebody. He's like the kid you may remember in junior high school with the super duper calculator, or even way back, if you're my age, the slide rule, who was a big suck up, who sucked up to the teacher, and was a royal pain in the ass. And you know what you wanted to do with kids like that. I'm not going to go down that road, but you can remember what they were like. These bespeckled, actually, it's an insult to nerds, isn't it, to call them a nerd? I don't know what the proper term is, because there's some really nice nerds, but this guy's not a nice guy. He runs the decision desk. The decision. Who the hell are you to make a decision for the people that are voting? We are the people. The people decide who won, not you, Mr. Decision Desk. Who the hell do you think you are? I'll tell you who you are. You're a Democrat. You're a registered Democrat. And you're a contributor to Democrats. And you're a contributor to Hillary. That's who you are. We know where you stand. We know what you're all about. You're in with the rest of them, okay? And now he won't take back this decision. So he's on the list of people that you should remember that helped to screw this whole thing up, okay? And there's some others I want to take on too. One of them is the never Trumpers. The never Trumpers, particularly the ones in the Republican Party, okay, that sabotaged our party, the so-called Lincoln Project. Why, if Lincoln was around, he'd spit on you, your so-called Lincoln Project. You've defamed the name of Lincoln for a little while, but Lincoln still stands tall, okay? And it'll long be forgotten. But I won't forget the way you misused his name, the so-called Lincoln Project, a bunch of Republicans in name only. Who are you to tell us what it means to be a Republican and to lecture us? You band of losers who took our party down the road to defeat time after time after time and told us we should accept it gracefully. Oh, turn the other cheek. You band of country club Republicans. What the hell do you think we were doing? Playing croquet? Or croquet? We don't really care how you pronounce it. Croquet. Whatever. Whatever that stupid game is. I told you in the beginning of this isn't a game. Those people. Most of the people at National Review, once a great paragon of conservatism. But guess what? William F. Buckley died. Okay? And these people that are there now, they can't hold a candle to him or his legacy. And people like Josh Goldberg, who the hell cares about him? Who does he think he is? Okay? And rhinos like Mitt Romney. You know, I don't think, I happen to think that the Republican Party should not get used to losing, okay? I think if you're a political party, you should win. This is a startling notion, isn't it? If you're a political party, you should play to win, okay? We don't need any more Mitt Romneys. Bob Dole lost, okay? H.W. Bush lost. They were not pleasant experiences. And we were told, well, just suck it up, lose gracefully. We don't want to go down that road anymore. All right? It's that kind of republicanism says, well, we're for the same as the other party, just a little less. That's no choice. That's a fraud. That's a sham. And it really doesn't serve America. It doesn't serve the party. It doesn't serve our conservative principles. And it doesn't give us a choice. Okay? So, no, we don't really want to go down that road again. Other Republicans, like I see Rick Santorum, who was supposed to be a great champion of conservatism, but I guess he wants to keep his gig with CNN. You know, he's a commentator on CNN now. And he's saying, oh, well, we should just accept this and the president should be graceful about it. And you know, you want to keep your gig with CNN and maybe you want to, you know, keep doing speaking engagements and writing books. Listen, I'm not going to come to hear you speak and I'm not going to buy your book. And I wouldn't advise any conservative to do the same. And these pollsters, wrong again. None of these pollsters are connected with universities like Suffolk and Monmouth and I can't remember, Quinnipiac, the university with the funny name. Listen, those universities hooked up with these pollsters to get their name on the map. You know, some universities have winning sports teams to get their name on the map. Well, I guess these universities didn't attract many athletes, so they hooked up with political pollsters to get their name on the map. I got a message for these universities. New Jersey has a Stockton poll too. I think they have a Rutgers Eagleton poll. Dump these polls and pollsters because they're an embarrassment. They're a disgrace. They were so wrong. They were so far off on calling this election. It was laughable. And yet they keep coming back. They keep coming back, pontificating. You hear them on the radio, see them, they're quoted in the newspaper. They don't skip a beat. In any other business, they would be in the trash heap. Okay? By the way, the news business is the only business where the customer is always wrong. The news business, the journalism. For the most part, a lot of them have absolutely disdain for the people who are consuming their product, for the readers, the listeners, the viewers. They don't care. I don't know how they stay in business. I really don't. Some people at Fox News, by the way, turn off Fox News. I know you like Laura and you like Hannity, and I know you love, love, love Tucker Carlson, and I do too. I think they're great. And I love, Fox and Friends in the morning. Okay. But Fox News has got to be taught a lesson. Turn it off. Turn it off. That Chris Steyerwalt, who the hell does this guy think he is? Just take a look at him. I mean, it looks like Humpty Dumpty. What a schlump. Where did the hell did this guy come from to be such an expert? Chris Steyerwalt. And by the way, he's very smug. Very smug. Here's another one that gets off on his roll. Okay? And, this is probably the greatest trip for him. Dare I even mention Chris Wallace? I mean, seriously, come on. What a disaster he made of that debate. Now, in all fairness, President Trump did not have his best performance in that debate. In all fairness, I thought, what a splendid opportunity, and he sort of missed it. But Chris Wallace, I mean, he's basically an incompetent, crotchety old liberal. That's what he is, okay? Who's fooling who here? And I'm very disappointed in Bret Baier. I'm beginning to think that Bret Baier thinks, he's some kind of modern day Walter Cronkite. Let me tell you something, Bret Baier. I remember Walter Cronkite. I met Walter Cronkite. And you're no Walter Cronkite. No. I can see right through you, okay? I can see right through you. So turn off Fox News, switch to Newsmax or One America Network, OAN. There are other choices, turn it off. By the way, there's a hot rumor. I don't know that I really should repeat this because I don't even want to entertain the thought that President Trump might not be president into 2021 and 22 and 23. But there's a rumor going around that if President Trump, God forbid, doesn't prevail in these challenges, that he's going to start his own network. Let's call it Trump News Network, TNN, or the Trump Network. There's a rumor going around that he's going to steal Laura, Hannity, Tucker, and whoever else he could steal from Fox. Wouldn't that be nice? Hmm? And God bless Rush Limbaugh. We love Rush Limbaugh. He's been a mainstay during this difficult time. And look at this man. Have you been listening to him and following him? We all know of his medical condition and what he's going through. Next week is another treatment week for him. He was there all this week. His voice is strong. He's powerful. He's fighting as much for this causes and this campaign as he is fighting for his health. And he's taken it all. What an unbelievable guy. So I'm going to end with this. Say a prayer for our country. Say a prayer for the president. Say a prayer for our movement, this great, wonderful movement that we built, that we want to continue. And please, please, please say a very special prayer for Rush Limbaugh. We love you, Rush. We're praying for you. And we look forward to continuing to listen to you and be inspired by you for a long, long time. Thanks so much, everybody. Hang in there. Hang in there. We're going to get through this, okay? Take care. Bye.